Mama. I'm Courtney Cecil, proud mom of two boys and an organizational culture and behavior change executive. And I'm a believer in building a movement to help the burned out, overwhelmed working moms reclaim their control and free time so that they can confidently remain in the workforce without losing the sanity or themselves. Now, let's get started.
Hey, y'all, I'm your host, Courtney Cecil, and welcome back to another snack sized episode of the Life Management System. So, if you've been here before, you know that the entire intent of the Life Management System is to solve for time and stress. And today, we're going to focus on financial stress, specifically around creating financial freedom. So, with me to have that conversation with somebody much more qualified than I am so pleased to invite Hannah Rein. So Hannah started her company Financially Engaged with her husband in 2018. And their company, Financially Engaged, provides resources for couples to manage their finances. So think about things like debt payoff plans and investing for beginners, like Investing 101 kind of thing. So, Hannah, first off, welcome. I am so excited to have you and
Thank you
would
so much
love
for
for
having
you.
me.
Yeah, yes. And can you do me a solid, do the listeners a solid, and help them understand what really inspired you to start your business? Because I think that tells a little, it helps build the burning platform of why other people need to be thinking about this very same thing.
Yeah. And I'll rewind a couple years all the way back to 2008 actually. My husband, Brady, he was in high school, so he found himself in a personal finance class that his parents had him go to. And the class was filled with a bunch of 50 and 60-year-old couples, and they were all talking about all the financial mistakes that they had already done in their life. And it was such a light bulb moment for him because he was sitting there as an 18-year-old kid looking around like, there has to be a better way to navigate finances. We should have preventive measures in place to teach these really important concepts before people go off and make all these big mistakes in their life. And so, as an 18-year-old kid, he kind of just went off to college and forgot about it for the time being. And he met me in college, and we graduated, did our UW accounting program, and then we went down to Chicago for our corporate careers. And I was navigating paying off about $40,000 worth of student loans and another $10,000 worth of car loans. And it dawned on me like, I need to figure out how to pay off this debt. I do not like having these payments every single month. And so I really started to dive into the world of budgeting and personal finances and paying off debt. And I started creating my own tools like budgets. And slowly my friends and coworkers started asking me, like, hey, what are you using? Can you help me with this? What debt should I pay off? And so that was kind of our second light bulb moment. It was like, wow, other people want this information, but it's again not being taught anywhere. So a few more years go by, and we finally decide to put this little passion project into action, and that's why we started Financially Engaged in 2018. Was really rooted in our own life experiences and wanting to help others navigate money, especially people that are in their 20s and 30s who are going through such big life major events like getting married, buying a house, buying a car, paying off all that debt, learning how to invest. It's such critical years. And so it's been a big passion project for us for several years.
Oh, good. And I understand not just a passion project, but now a full-time business for you. So congratulations on that. And I
Thank
can't
you.
help but say, Hannah, or call out to the fact that when you're talking about your 18-year-old husband at the time in 2008, I'm like, oh, cool. I was working then. Like, it demonstrates a little bit of the age gap between us. But okay,
We're
so you
33 now.
Okay, well and I just turned 40 this not even a month ago. So part of the reason that I have really focused on financial freedom now is I know that 40 is an inflection point for so many people where they realize, wow, like just gut check, I am not, I can no longer hide behind this notion of having all the time in the world or having, you know, like years and years and years. And Hannah, I know that I've heard you talk about the importance of investing early. So just
Yeah.
getting people focused on recognizing the value in that. There's no better time than now. And so much of my audience falls between around your age and about 5 years after me. So, okay, you and your husband provide resources to couples. I would love to hear from you. I'm sure, regardless if since you don't do formal coaching, you are more of a resource and education provider. But I'm sure that you engage with people and learn a lot about their stories and what their needs are in order to inspire what you have. So, what happens, or what's your advice to people, or couples specifically, when they have differences of opinions on how to manage money?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's completely normal to have differences of opinions. It's probably more abnormal if you guys agreed on everything. Because if you think about it, growing up, you're with your parents or family for 18 plus years and you're absorbing all the information in ways that they manage money, or maybe they teach you about money, or maybe they don't even. And all of those life experiences really impact and shape how you see money as an adult. And so when I'm talking to couples, I think it's really important to just ask your partner those questions about their early childhood. What's their first money memory? Was money really tight growing up, or was it abundant? If it was really tight, maybe now in adulthood, they feel a lot more safe if they have a big emergency fund and have that cushion. And so just starting to ask those questions of each other really will help you have empathy towards the other person and really understand where they're coming from, so that it can lead to less arguments in the long run. And then I think once you have a better perspective of their opinions and why they act the way they do, that's when you can start having those conversations about your shared goals. I really like to keep the conversation organized on the positive. So, what are we working towards together? And then I think it's really important to create some sort of system to manage your money together. It's going to look different for every couple because everybody is so different. You might have to do some trial and error, but finding a system that works for you and then having those recurring check-ins to make sure that you're still aligned is really going to help you avoid those money conflicts.
I love hearing you talk about systems. So, again, the podcast is called The Life Management System for no
Yeah.
other reason than you cannot think about the way you do life in an incubated perspective. You have to think about the way and the interconnectivity around all major decisions and how they impact the way you get to experience your own life, the type of life that you're building for your kids. And one of those systems has to be finances. And what I'm taking from, I'm pulling this thread a little bit, Hannah, and putting some words in your mouth, but a system, I'm assuming, doesn't have to be complicated here.
No.
Can you give an example of what a system might be to keep a couple aligned?
Yeah, I mean, Brady and myself, all over the last 15 years, we've tested almost every single budgeting app out there. And we found personally that we just don't like budgeting. I mean, we love personal finance, but like the process of like budgeting every single penny and transaction was just so tedious to us that we were like, we have to find a better solution, one that we actually enjoy doing, because one that we enjoy doing is one that we're going to stick to. And so we created the Cash Dash, which is our financial plan that we built in Google Sheets, and it allows both parties in a couple to log in at the same time and see where you're at. But I really like it because it looks at, okay, what's the money in your bank account? What is the income that you plan to receive in the upcoming month? And then together, you allocate that money to the things that actually matter in your finances. So, your bills that are coming due, any debt payments that you have to make, your credit card balances, and then more of the savings fun things like, what is your emergency fund at? Do you need to beef that up at all? um, what are the investments that you want to make? So we contribute to our kids' 529 plans each month. And then finally, what are the savings goals that you're putting money aside towards? That's like the really fun part to keep top of mind and reminds you why you're doing all of this. And once we have all those prioritized, we know that whatever money is left over, we can just spend freely without feeling guilt. So we don't have to go budget the $7 Starbucks or the $30 Amazon shirt because we know that we have this leftover funds that we can use. And everything else that actually matters is being prioritized. So it's been a game changer for our personal finances and a lot of the couples that use it as well. And I'm not knocking on budgets at all. I know budgets can do wonders for so many people, but again, it just comes back to that matter of finding the system that works for you.
Yes, amen. When a system is built around your lifestyle, it makes it sustainable, and that's what makes it work. And the other thing I love about what you just shared, Hannah, is what I'm reading between the lines is there is an intentionality around that work. And it
Mhm.
is that intentionality that ultimately is going to give you the financial freedom because everything you do you are making a calculated decision on based on what you value. And I heard you talking about that with my opening question, and that is such an important part of doing life intentionally. When you know what you value, then you know what to prioritize. And when you know what you prioritize, you know how to allocate your resources. Those resources being
Exactly.
time and energy, and of course, money. So I just love that you are helping your clients and the people that you engage with in your community understand the importance of starting with what you value because that informs everything downstream.
Absolutely.
So, also in that opening question, you talked about historical bias. And that is something that I am very passionate about, and that many moms that I work with get hung up on and don't realize how much that is superimposing thinking and baggage sometimes related to what it is that they expect of themselves and the pressure they put on themselves or the pressure they think that others are putting on them based on what they've been exposed to. So I
Mhm.
really love that you called that out as a means of acknowledging reality and acknowledging people or couples' perspective on how they think of money. But I also know that that historical baggage, for lack of a better term, can very much influence people's decisions, whether that be them living in fear or them living in abundance. And I actually talk about this my very second episode ever of this podcast. I focused on this notion of historical bias more than anything because it is something that mentally hangs people up in ways they don't realize. So,
Mhm.
what is your read on people's health with finances based on whether they live in a place of abundance or a place of scarcity?
I think it really comes down to, yeah, just understanding their motives behind their decisions, and I think if they're living in a place of scarcity, they really have to start asking themselves those questions, kinda like I was talking about in the first question. Um, "Why do I feel this way?" You know?
Mhm.
I might have even a really high income, and I still feel like I'm living this scarce mindset. And so I think it's really, really important to start asking yourself those own questions. And even if you're really having a hard time with it, I think consulting a professional, there's financial therapists out there that are really, really helpful at getting to the root cause of why you feel the way that you do.
Mm. I love that even know that knowing that's an option. Okay, I want to play out two scenarios for you that might leave people approaching their finances in a completely different way. It's their motives. And these are two circumstances that I engage with both in my personal life and my professional life. And the
Okay.
first is around I have people in my life who stay in jobs because it is so important to them to build financial independence, whether that be going back to their historical baggage, whether that be they were raised by a single mom or they
Mhm.
have some sort of fissure in their marriage or that they are just a strong, badass, independent woman, like whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's something that's important to them. So, what is your recommendation for any female specifically on maintaining financial independence?
Yeah, I think this is a super delicate topic, especially when you're talking to couples and trying to navigate this conversation as they work together because financial independence is more than just the numbers. It's about having empowerment and choice in your life. And so I think when women in relationships or marriages are navigating this with their spouse, they really need to balance that collaboration aspect of managing money as a team towards your goals with the individual autonomy that you both deserve. So, you both deserve to save for the things that you want to save for and spend on the things that you want to spend on. And I think specifically trying to hone in on this financial independence and standing on your own 2 feet, something specifically to focus on is making sure that your skill sets are super sharp. So, like you said, if there was ever something that happened in the relationship and you just wanted to feel confident that you could support yourself if needed, making sure that you have a job to fall back on that can support you is so, so critical. And so I think those 2, balancing that collaboration with that autonomy and then keeping your skill sets sharp is just really, really important to that overall financial independence.
Okay, I love that. Now, second scenario. I have many stay-at-home mom friends that are particularly beholden to their husbands and asking, "Hey, I need money to pay for this. We're out of toilet paper. There is a leak in the ceiling. Um, Johnny needs new clothes." Not to mention their own personal needs of, hey, I would
Yeah.
really love to be able to pay for a gym membership, or
Mhm.
something of that nature. What is your read on the lack of exposure that they have to money, and the
Mhm.
fact that they often are in a position where they are managing separate bank accounts, and that all of the household items come out of their specific checking account or savings account as opposed to a joint one?
Yeah, I think when it comes to managing your money separately versus joint, there's really no one size fits all answer. Couples can be successful doing it either way. But it's one thing to manage your money separately. It's a whole other issue if one person doesn't have the right access to the shared funds in the relationship because both parties deserve fair access to funds, whether or not you have a traditional 9 to 5 job or you're making income, or you're contributing to the family by being a stay at home parent, or maybe something in the middle. You both deserve access to funds. And it definitely raises some red flags if one person is having to go and ask and doesn't have that freedom to make some of those decisions for themselves. And so instead of focusing on, oh, is joint accounts right or separate accounts, it really comes down to, do you have a money system in place that fosters that shared financial transparency so you both have a picture of your overall finances and the goals you're working towards? The system should foster that autonomy we talked about. So, both having that ability to spend and save for things that are important to each of you. And then again, having that shared alignment on goals. So, coming back to that whole money system is the crux of the matter and making sure that's in place.
I love what you said. And I want to double click too on the point around you are both contributing to the family, but in very different ways. So there
Yeah.
might be circumstances where one person has a more demanding career, but
Yep.
they're also the one who has a higher salary, and the salary is less volatile than bonus. Or you
Mhm.
have a stay-at-home mom or dad who is sacrificing their career in the interest of whether that, not giving up the financial obligations to other people to raise your kid, or because it serves your family or serves the spouse's career. But
Yeah.
all of those are intentional decisions you make as a family unit. So when you go back and you start everything with what it is that you value, then that
Hmm.
helps you support what you need to prioritize, and therefore, once again, how you allocate your resources, both financially,
Exactly.
your energy, everything in between. I love that you called that out. Okay, so last technical question for you, Hannah. A lot of moms feel guilt around spending money on themselves. So, what would you encourage them, um, or couples as a whole, how would you
Yeah.
encourage them to prioritize their own needs without shame?
I mean, this is just so common. Parents are always pouring from an empty cup, and I think it's so important to know that spending on things that better your health or mental health or just make you feel happy, it's not selfish. It's honestly essential for that long-term well-being, and doing these types of things helps you be a better mom or a better friend or a better employee. And so, just knowing that right off the bat is super important. But the one thing that Brady and I do for these types of expenses is we plan ahead. So at the start of the month, when we're setting up our money plan in the cash dash, we set money aside for goals like this, the fun things that you want to do. And so then when they actually come up, we don't feel guilty about spending money on it because we already planned in advance for doing these types of things.
I love that. And to your point, moms are so selfless.
Mhm.
And they are constantly giving for them, to others. So it is not too much to ask for them to remember that they live too. Like, this is our only chance to live this life.
Right.
So it can't all be in transaction to other people, and some of it
Yeah.
has to be in service to us. Okay, so to wrap this up with you, Hannah, I've got three lightning round questions I ask every guest that I host. The first one, what is your go-to stress busting activity?
Oh man, I think I would have to say I've really leaned into meditation these last couple years. It's something I never really thought I would do, but I really love it for especially falling asleep at night. I have like so many thoughts going around in my head, and I've just found it to be so nice to put it on for a couple minutes and then I'm just out cold.
Yeah, I highly underestimated the power of meditation. I do not do well with it during the day. I'm just like ticking all around me. It's like there's so much stuff I could be getting done and I'm not. But at
Yeah,
night, it's amazing what it does to help you turn off your brain and, to your point, transition to sleep.
for sure.
Okay. What's the last book or podcast you loved?
Well, my go-to podcast is All the Hacks by Chris Hutchins. He does a ton of different financial like hacks in his episodes, but he also covers a ton of just general life hacks. So it mixes it up and always keeps it super interesting. I know you said podcast or book, but the other one I just watched actually on Netflix was called Buy Now. It's a documentary all about consumerism and spending and how these big companies get you to spend so much money. And oh my gosh, it was honestly nauseating to see all these tactics. And I think it's a must watch for literally anyone.
Okay, good to know. Well, definitely, I don't watch a lot of TV, but it does make me incredibly sick to my stomach to think about how much waste we have
Yeah,
and are contributing as consumers right now. And I'm sure, like, I can't help catch the irony in what it is that you shared based on what it is you do for your profession. It is
yeah,
because like the buy now mentality is inherently saying, I'm not sticking to what it is I value.
right.
I am not
Yeah.
prioritizing that. Okay, last question. If you could wave a magic wand, what task would you eliminate forever?
I would have to say probably taking out the diaper trash for my 2 toddlers, and
Oh,
luckily for me, that chore will go away eventually.
yeah, exactly. Like there, at least there is an expiration on that. Mine is my getting ready routine. I hate having to get ready for the day and like do all the
Yeah.
potions and whatever. Um, the fact that you will outgrow yours, congratulations. I'm so jealous. Okay, Hannah, actual last question. Where can
Yeah.
people find you?
I am super active on Instagram, so at financially engaged, and then all of our financial resources are on our website, financiallyengaged.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being with me here today, Hannah. I am so excited to be able to share and hopefully inspire people to be more intentional about their financial freedom and creating that for themselves. So, when you think about financial freedom, friends, it is nothing more than a discipline. It is a habit. And if you are struggling to put habits into place, you know where to find me. So, in addition to that, I also have a guide to small micro habits that you can put in place in all sorts of assets of your life, your general wellness, your sleep, your health and happiness. And if you are interested in getting your hands on that guide, you can do so at www.workingmomsmovement.com/healthy-habits. I will drop that link in the show notes. I will drop where to find Hannah in the show notes. So get in on that while you can to help you create those healthy financial habits. So once again, thanks for being here. I would appreciate a subscribe, a rate and review. But until next time, friends, if nobody's told you lately, you're doing a great job. You've got this, Mama.